Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome for the second session on tackling the issues of raising finance. The session comprises of experienced investors in an Indian startup scene. Hear from the experts as to where venture capitalists are investing and how you can position your startup to attract the funds that you need to succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now have the privilege of inviting our distinguished speakers, Mr. Sunil Goyal, Mr. Vikram Upadhyay, Mr. Vivek Kumar, and Mr. Tim Matthew to kindly come up to the stage and take your respective chairs. Thank you. Fundraising, love it or hate it, unless you're independently wealthy. It's key to the success of your new startup. When does right, it can lead to lucrative partnerships with angel investors and venture capitalists. And when not perfect, it can lead to frustrating and sometimes fatal for the new enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now have the privilege of introducing Mr. Sunil Goyal to the August gathering. Sunil Goyal currently runs Your Nest Angel Fund, an early stage venture fund he conceptualized and founded in the year 2011. Prior to this, Sunil has won recognition for playing instrumental roles in well-known businesses like Bharti Group and Dabur. As a leader, he has actively led transformational change and is a strong proponent of positivity at workplace. He has led organization and been in position of importance as COO, CEO and Director at Airtel, Beetle and Airtel Africa. Sunil is an active member of TAI and a former member of Indian Angel Network and Mumbai Angels. He has led investments in diverse sectors. His passion for early stage ventures has led him to invest in 9 startups on his own before he set up Your Nest, which planned to invest in 10 to 12 startups over the next few months. Sunil is also qualified as a financial analyst, business economist, and cost accountant. May I now request Mr. Goyal to kindly deliver his talk to the August gathering. Sir, please.
Really pleased that students at IILM are getting the exposure to entrepreneurship and funding. You're really fortunate that the buzzing word or the real bubbling thing that is happening around in the economy, you're getting the first-hand exposure from the experienced panel out here. Let me share some practical side of it on the funding element. Any idea? We listened to 2 ideas just now, medical tourism and MySubji. Okay, now MySubji.com, that kind of venture, how will that raise money? What is it that needs to be there for us to be able to pay attention to fund? Those are the thoughts that should come to your mind. If I have an idea, what stage do I go to and who do I go to? Obviously, friends, family, and amongst the founders are the best source of raising the money. 90% of the scenarios, you do not need to come to angel investors or venture capitalists to raise money. Your business should be such that your customers are so happy that they are paying for it and you can make a good lifestyle business. You know what is lifestyle business? Lifestyle business is the one wherein you're happy that you have a fabulous car, you have club memberships, you are earning well and you have respect in the society and you are doing a turnover of, let's say, anything between 10 to 100 crore rupees and it's doing well, it's growing 10 to 20% year on year and is taking care of it. But the day you want to have a bigger dream, there you get an idea that can multiply in revenues 3x, 4x, 5x what you need every year. Okay, and that's the kind of growth you can deliver. That's the time you need to look at angel investors or venture capital or external capital. What happens when you come to them? First scenario, team. What is so important in those team members that we will say that they can do it? Let me give an example. This particular gentleman comes to me and says that I want to launch a new service on a missed call. You know, missed call in India, we have a habit of giving a missed call. But this team presents that we are going to now engage customers on a missed call given by them, by the customers, and brands are going to pay for it. This was a team of 3 people, one very experienced person from a payment gateway company, another experienced person, well educated, and the third was a CTO. 3-member team that came to us to raise money. I said, what have you done? They said, we have done an experiment in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago has a population of, I think, less than 20,000 people. In that country, we just launched one campaign of Pepsi and we proved that missed call works. And this is a gentleman who has worked for 10 years in Airtel. I'm listening to the pitch. Looking into the eyes of those gentlemen, that can they do it? Can they make the change happen? Can they make a business case out of just missed call, which is no cost to the telco word and everything else? Can they manage the regulatory environment? It seems like that they had the guts and they raised the money only on that pretext that they will be able to go and sell to Unilevers, Cadbury's, Kingfishers, etc. And today banks, you can get a bank balance or you can get your portfolio balance by giving a missed call. An email will come to you or SMS will come to you. Why did that happen? Because this team not only had a bright idea, it was very difficult for me to imagine a scale that it can go to. This was done in June 2010. Now, June 2010, it was idea funded, and February 2014, you know what happened? The most innovative companies list was presented worldwide, and in the top 50 companies, where Google was number 1, Apple was around number 14 or so, this company stood number 8. That's how the ideas are conceptualized and ideas are fundable. Let me take another example. In India, winning India is tough. Winning India means you have to be frugal. You have to respect value for money. How many of you can say that my parents, my family, when I grow up, I'll order my goods from mysabji.com? And why will you order from mysabji.com? That crux has to be very, very clear. It has to be, every possible factor has to be delivered by this team, and it has to be profitable for the team to do the business. Here comes one gentleman, IIT Powai passed out, 20 years, just married, child was about to born. Okay, the first child was about to born. 3 years, he's been running to take a license from the Mumbai government to, what was the license about? To convert black and yellow and cool cabs into radio taxis. He says that, why do you need to come down to the road to hail a taxi? You just give me a call and I'll send the car, the Meru comes and everything else comes. These were the 2 gentlemen. One was studying in Harvard and this guy had just passed out and had worked for financial technologies for 4-5 years. Belief in the idea. No, I'm not talking about the big guys that you keep reading about in the newspapers, the Just Styles, and tomorrow morning you will be listing the biggest story of Alibaba of $25 billion being raised in the market. All that is available to you. I'm talking about the things that we touch every day. This gentleman had, at that point in time when he's going to be the father for the first time, he had gold loans, personal loans, at 35% rate of interest. This is the boy whose father runs in some remote place in Bihar where not even the roads are there even today, as a chemist. And this boy used to sit in that particular shop in class 2 to sell the medicine, and used to add sales tax and whatever other taxes to bill to the customers at that age. Now, dialect of this gentleman was very poor. But when he came to us, one email on LinkedIn reached me. I looked at the 5 sentences and read the 5 sentences. What he talked about, he's about to get the license from this thing to convert black and yellow into cool cap. He's getting a right to advertise on those taxis. He has 1,100 drivers or so who have signed up to pay him 10% to 20% revenue share whenever he'll give business. He has a technology partner from Netherlands who is going to supply him the equipment on OPEX model. That means he does not have to pay upfront the capital expenditure for that. He doesn't have to sell the advertisement space on the cars because he is already signed up with one of the finest agencies in Mumbai to resell his space. He is only going to focus on call center, and he is open to sign up with an outsourced call center as well. But he'll focus on servicing the driver and keeping drivers happy so that they can keep the customers happy. We funded them, and what he evolved, the first technology failed. Netherlands-based technology failed within, I think, 6 months. Second scenario, he signed up with another technology provider out of Delhi. Not happy. Call center executives used to come and cry in front of him. We as investors said, this investment is gone. In a mind that this was very difficult to see. This gentleman, one fine day, the servers crashed of this technology provider, the local technology provider, and he goes and talks to his team that we have been developing one software. Since the other technology is down, let's put that beta test on the live server. They put their beta software on the live server, and within 3 hours, the team was so delighted. He had created something which was understood by him by operating in the market for 1.5 years. There were smiles all over because he had developed a most cost-effective technology. Earlier, his technology needed a GPS system. Now, a simple mobile phone can, with a driver of 500 rupees or 600 rupees, can connect him with the call center, and one message can go to him that go and pick up a customer from here and there. Innovations happen in extreme scenarios, but only the person who has a passion to do it. He got another round of funding. Today he's launching, this month he's launched in Calcutta. He was the first one to launch in Calcutta ahead of any other national players. He's going to be launching in other cities, and we are now going to be seeing him bubbling with energies in next few years. Let me give another example. Internet business. Internet easiest to start. If it is easy to start a business, let me tell you, it's tough to get funding. If it is easier to do something, it'll be tougher to manage and pay salaries of your people and keep them together. I'll talk about the third experience. These guys were very senior guys, director of marketing in one firm, and another guy running an IT business. 3 of them, good job, great team, all together, and wanted to serve the parents. Today, as a parent, we all live in nuclear families. They are identified as a parent. We care about our child, and we want to do and give everything to our children that we've never been able to do for ourselves or got for ourselves. And we want to spend lots and lots of money in their future and making them multitasking, totally activity oriented. They launched mycityforkids.com in 2010 October. Idea conceptualized in April 2010. They are not that as lucky as the February 2010 Snapdeal, our new hero, Kunal Bahal. He is now $1 billion company in 4 years' time, and that's the reason we all want to be entrepreneurs. But look at this particular story of mycityforkids.com. These 3 gentlemen went around to take the funding. What's the question being asked by the venture capitalist and the bigger guys? There is no model like this anywhere in the world. Why will it succeed in India? Why can't India be a breeding ground? Zipdial, which is offering services on a missed call, still, after 4 years, still the Silicon Valley people are not able to appreciate that this can change the world. Entire Africa, all emerging markets can be connected on a missed call for various services. Why? Because There is no replica of that missed call in the Western world. Only we Indians or we local managers can appreciate what is going to be right for India. And hence, this company, My City for Kids, goes along. Everybody rejects the case. They came across to us. It's difficult to understand as to who will pay for those services when parents would like every information, every resource guides free. What turned out to be? The play schools, the tuition teachers, the mom entrepreneurs who are running a dance class or a music class or anything. These people were looking for some avenues to reach out to their customers. There was no way for them, means if there's a piano class teacher next to you, let me tell you, the piano teacher cannot market the services other than My City for Kids today. Today we have 3,000 businesses who are paying them annual subscriptions. First year they started at 2,500 India, second year 5,000, third year 10,000, and some businesses are paying 50,000 rupees a year. Why it happened? Just because they relentlessly pursued one theme of identifying a new idea and keep building it. Will it become a bigger business? Only time will tell. But are the parents happy? Parents are delighted with the resource guide that is provided by My City for Kids. This is how we spot ideas. This is how we fund ideas. I'm talking about examples that are right here. Let me talk about 2-3 examples where we did not fund. This was a gentleman who came with a very revolutionary idea. After we offered to give him a term sheet, we said that we will invest in him. Within 15 days, he had a senior manager, senior guy from Nokia visiting him, Microsoft visiting him, and one more, Intel visiting him. His colors changed within 15 days. 15 days, he started coming to our meetings for negotiating the fundraise stuff with an iPad in hand, casually walking in after parking his Honda Civic, started casually walking in and saying, it is going to be $1 billion company. It is going to be $1 billion company. In 3 times in my meeting, he said it's going to be $1 billion company. And he was raising money from me at some 10 crore valuation. I said, why have you gone so crazy about it? You've not even taken a first step. We evaluated, we walked away from that particular transaction. We want confident people. We want people who can change the world. But we want people who take one step at a time. Not dreaming of $1 billion just because you've been met by some senior people, you're doing something good. Another gentleman came to us. 3 very, very intelligent guys. Means you will, when they'll come on a dais and speak, we'll all be allured by all 3 of them. Each one of them, technical experts or so. We said we will give you money, but show us the product first. It was a game-changing product. Again, our belief was, my partner said, Sunil, if we don't invest in this, we are going to miss $1 billion opportunity. I said, fine, no problems. Okay, let's look at it. But let them come and demonstrate the product to us once. Whether the website works, whether the product works, whether it will deliver something that they're talking about. We said, okay, fine. We gave a term sheet in July. We said, okay, fine. How much time you need? Sir, 4 weeks. I said, come after 4 weeks. They came after 4 weeks. The presentation, the demo had nothing new than what they had talked about. I said, fine. How much time you need more? So we need 4 weeks more. Right? Come after 4 weeks. They came after 4 weeks. Again, it was done. I said, how much time do you need? I said, another 4 weeks. Gave another 4 weeks. Let me tell you, however big the idea would be, it was a game-changing idea. But we had, with our very, very hard heart, we had to say no, that we won't be able to invest. You're not demonstrating execution capability. The CEO is not investing, this thing, execution capability. Next morning, one of the partner came to me, sir, actually the CEO is not devoting even a single time. He's busy providing consulting services to some other firm. That's the reason we were not able to deliver the promises being made to you. You know, simple things are established while we are funding. Means you have to be, your heart and soul has to be in that business. Then only you can make that game-changing thing happen. I hope these are some of the stories or case studies that will help you to think about your startup in a much better manner. Thank you and look forward to interaction.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Goel. That was indeed an eye-opener for the ideation and conceptualization. Well, let me have the privilege of introducing Mr. Vikram Upadhyay. A graduate from University of Tokyo and real-time operating system researcher, started his entrepreneurial journey way back in the year 1999. Board member of India's biggest incubator, Indian Angel Network. Nominated advisor by Telecom Center of Excellence. He is a strategic leader and entrepreneur with a successful background of building and leading top-performing teams focused on exceeding goals. Dynamic and orchestration of multi-million-dollar business startups, turnaround and growth ventures. Vikram is a visionary and an entrepreneur who holds 16 years of Indo-Japan market experience. Vikram is the first Indian featured as a cover story in Japan's most famous economic magazine, Kaizakai, in the year 2007, and the first ever entrepreneur nominated by Japan's ICT Ministry of India and Japan ICT Committee. Now, let me have the privilege of inviting Mr. Vikram Upadhyay to deliver his address. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so delighted to be on this dais, and the first thing which I realized, and I had a flashback 20 years back when I was in a college, and I was realizing that if I would have been having this kind of a platform during my college times, I think I would have performed really well in my life. I'm really happy the management of this organization and the institute has created this kind of platform for all of us to interact, to share our stories, experience, and hear the business plans. The key for success in today's entrepreneurial ecosystem is not the money. We have been talking a lot, and when I say we, it's all of us, that startups will get funding, they are getting funding. But all that glitters is not gold. And I think very specifically I chose this session, and I'm privileged that I was accepted for this session to talk about the issues raising funding. So let's take a step back and analyze why we need funding as entrepreneurs. Are we trying to fund the idea, or are we trying to fund the growth of the idea, or are we trying to save the venture / idea? So we should be clear about why we are going for funding and what is the stage. Do you really need funding? Is the money you are looking for is enough or less? You should have the answer for all these steps when you are taking. It's a big step. I'm not touching right now from whom you are trying to raise funding. I have been funding as an angel. I have been funding as an institution through Indian Angel Network, and recently I've started an accelerator. So all the three categories, and I work very closely with the venture capitalists. So it's not important right now for me to talk about from whom you are raising funding, but why you want to raise fund. Let's touch that subject. And why you should raise, why you should not raise the funding. Today in this country, where we say we are 1.2 billion population, Japan is coming closer, China is still in Delhi today, and we are getting a lot of FDI. Entrepreneurship is growing. We are hearing the story about the e-commerce getting funding, going $1 billion valuation. All these good stories we are hearing, and definitely opportunities around us. We as entrepreneurs are trying to come up with great ideas. I'd like to echo what Mr. Goyal mentioned about that. Make your concept, your idea, your venture in such a way that you don't need funding. And to be honest, after coming back to India, staying in Japan for 16 years, I realized this is the perfect place where you can pluck low-hanging fruits in all the domains. For that, what you need? Aptitude? I think no. You need attitude to pluck the low-hanging fruits, because that will take you to the altitude. So in 15-16 years of my experience in the Japanese market and coming back to India in 2010, working very closely with seasoned entrepreneur, fund managers and VCs like Mr. Goel and others, I realized what we as entrepreneurs need in this country. Why I'm saying we? Because I still feel, even being an investor, I still feel there's an entrepreneur still inside me. So that's why I'm using we. There's a very simple way to evaluate whether you are fundable or not. And we are well aware about that formula, but it's about how to practice it at the right time. It's called TEST. TEST stands with T-E-S-T. And what all these words stand for? T is the team, the first T. So the very important thing, the first thing you have to do in your checklist is put the first T equal to team. Review yourself as a team. That are you making sense as a team for the idea or the venture you're working on? Are you bringing the domain expertise, or is there any relevance or not what you're trying to do as a team? And team is more than one, definitely. So there has to be 2 members at least. That's what I recommend as an investor. Try to see as the team, as the co-founders, whether you can together bring all the major functions of a venture, whether it's technology, finance, marketing, business development, HR. So as a team, you should have that kind of expertise. Now, E stands for execution capability. You might be great as a team, but try to see whether you can execute that venture or not. Build those expertise. While doing so and building that venture, think about scalability, because India is such a big market. You have to scale it up. Don't think from day one global venture. It can be step 2, but think local. That should be scalable enough for the Indian market. Now, being a startup, you have to keep a very optimized resources deployed in your venture. You have to use something which will make you scalable in the shortest time, and that's possible only using technology. So build a checklist before you go for the funding, and if you pass the test, I think you are almost ready for funding. Maybe this test is basically a formula for the early stage funding, the angel side. The second thing is about validation of your concepts. Before you go and raise funds, even from your family and friends, try to get the validation of your concepts. Do it for free trial, but see whether the customers are there or not. Just don't try to raise funding only on ideas. This happens only in Silicon Valley. So try to build a validation, that is POC, proof of concept. So if you have a test POC, I think it's easy to raise funding. But what if you are not able to raise fund? Then how to go about it? Don't give up. Review what is missing at your end. Maybe you are not ready for funding, but that is not equal to you are not a good venture. The first startup which I funded, I declined them. And it took me 6 months to commit, and that was 2008. And while those 6 months they were coming back to me again and again, taking ideas, mentoring and all those things at the technology side, they were funded in 2008. 2009, in 12 months, they were funded by one of the prominent VCs in the market. 2010, they had clients like NASA, and today they are like $50 million valued company, and it's a global company. So when you go to the investor, don't look for the check as the first step. Try to bring the inputs the investor is giving you. Review on that, because investors are giving very valid inputs to you. And I think if you are dedicated to your venture, you have a passion to do it, you can definitely raise funding. If not today, but definitely tomorrow. So with this note, time being a constraint for all of us, I'd like to thank you everyone. And if there's any Q&A, I'd like to pick up from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Upadhyay, for bringing us forward with the checklist. I now have the privilege of introducing to the august gathering of Mr. Vivek Kumar. Mr. Vivek Kumar started his career with the Nelson Company, where he was for 10 years working closely with the marketing and strategy teams of leading MNCs. His first entrepreneurial venture was IRIS, a retail market intelligence and hand-holding company with services in market research, business analytics and advisory. Within this, he also founded Online Potato and hand-holding company for online businesses. Subsequently, he co-founded Bollywood Fashion. Vivek now runs SME JoinUp, India's largest services marketplace for small businesses. SME JoinUp has recently released a book titled Startups Find a Funding as another initiative in the fundraising ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Mr. Vivek Kumar to kindly address the gathering. Thank you.
Hi. Thanks, Urpi. As you must have understood, I'm not really an investor. So after the break, you should be talking to these guys, and you should remember test. I think that's really good. And all the other 3 startups I did really failed, but I'm still alive. So we made some money along the way. So not a very bad story yet. But I can tell you some of my couple of my learnings along the way. So luckily I have a dad who has some money and is willing to get coerced once in a while. So I really haven't needed to go to an investor to really try to raise money. But having done multiple startups, I did realize along the way that a lot of startups used to interact with me, and we really struggled with trying to raise money. So I started working with a couple of them, and a lot of them were raising money in very, very different ways than venture capital. Just to give you a very, very quick example, a quick number, in India annually, I think last year we might have done anywhere between 200 to 400 equity investment, the entire Indian market. Which, just to give you perspective, is Israel with a total population of about 70 lakh people does 350 times that venture capital, 350 times that. So imagine that much activity happening in Ahmedabad. So like all of them are saying that you want to start a business from a business perspective and not really from a funding perspective, especially if you're in India, right? Because we are still very, very small there. But just a quick, couple of, I saw both the presentations, just a quick, few things, I would do differently. For example, website is not a business, the My Subsidy guys, the website is not a business, right? So a website doesn't get funded. Website is not a business. the other thing is, for example, both the spaces which got presented have startups which have been in that space for over 5 years, 10 years, in the case of medical tourism. Now, what you need to, I would rather start by talking about what the existing player, who the existing player is currently, and what is he doing differently, or what is he doing wrong that you can do differently or you can do better. That makes sense to an investor, right? Because if you're going to do something which 20 other people are doing, you'll have to really convince an investor, how can you do it better? How can you do it differently, right? Otherwise, why will I put my money behind you? But if somebody is already doing something similar to you, you have to, think like that. The good thing with this is that now angel investing is available. The first time I even heard that term was in 2010, I think. 2009-10 was the first time I even heard that term. And I passed out in 96, I'm ancient, right? And that's the kind, you're really lucky, guys. But you have to start thinking a lot differently than the thought processes which we saw in the PPT. That, if the PPT was done for the sake of a PPT, by the way, I'm just the team, just ignore what I'm saying. It's not specifically meant for you, right? So I apologize. It's not specifically meant for the teams who presented, but guys, you have to go much beyond what all this. What are you talking about? Where's the idea? Pretty much. I would pretty much nothing in both the presentations. They're pretty much done for a PPT sake. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, the last thing you should be doing is, try and do something for a PPT sake. The book, Rumki ji talked about. Just to quickly tell you, we met about, I met about 20-25 odd startups, and we're looking at, given that venture capital is so little and so few and so far in between, what are the other ways you could look at? So, for example, there's a company called Global Logic which got acquired by, I think, $400 odd million, I think was the acquisition. But 4 co-founders. One of the co-founders was based out of the US, and he worked there, and he was pouring his entire salary into that business for that period till they were able to raise venture capital. So that's one way. Find a friend who's willing to pour in his salary into your business. But if you can't convince one friend, I don't know who else you'll be able to convince, right? So find a friend who's willing to pour in his salary into your business. Good idea, right? There's another company, Lambent Technologies, who convinced each of their employees to put in 1 to 5 lakhs each. I don't know, can you find 10 people, 10 of your friends here who willing to pour in 1 to 5 lakhs each, right? All of us today have that much capacity. Just studying at IILM, I am sure you can afford 5 lakhs. Because you're paying them how much? 10 lakhs, ma'am? So, you can afford 5 lakhs, right? 10 of you get together, that's 15 lakhs. That's not very small. That's a very, very good amount to give a shot. Give a serious shot to something. But, you have to really then believe in what you are doing, right? Because to put your 5 lakhs, now it's very, very different. To ask Sunil to put his 10 lakhs, yeah, okay. Or Vikram put 10 lakhs, right? One of Vikram's investment we talked about is one of the most successful investments in India. But to reach him, guys, put your 5 lakhs into the game. No? Tell us that, yeah, okay, I believe in what I'm doing, right? So that's another way to look at raising investment. The Chumbak guys are good friends of mine. Just to tell you, the founder used to own a house. So they sold their house, moved into a rented house, and used that money to start their venture. I don't know if you believe in your idea that much to do that. But that's what it takes really, So some examples. Of course, friends and family. If you can't beat up some of your friends or some of your family members, if you can't get a chacha who's rich to pull 10-20 lakhs into your business, then you either have a bad idea, or that's all. Probably you just have, all of us today have somebody in the family who has money in his pocket. That's the first starting point, right? We keep talking about India being a social whatever, right? Hopefully family listens. We go to weddings which have, probably one of you get married, you'll have 500 people at that wedding. Right? Why when you talk to those 500 people to put in some money, what's the use of feeding all of them at your shadi and not getting any one of them to put in 10 lakhs into your business, and you want to talk to Sunil and ask him the $20 lakh? But there's some interesting ways. But I think it starts with you believing really in what you're doing. Because if you strongly believe in what you're doing, it's pretty much easy. Somebody in the family, you will be able to coerce into, my dad is a chartered accountant. He's not a stupid guy. He believes I can make it work, and which is why he puts up the money. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vivek. That was so quick and energetic. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now have the privilege of introducing Tim Matthews, the youngest amongst the panelists. Tim Matthews did his BTech from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and MBA from Washington University in the area of finance and entrepreneurship. Tim started his career as a design analyst with GE and Mahendra Satyam and was associated with Immersion Electric Company, Sydney. Presently, Tim is the director of Providence Consultants. Now may I invite Tim Matthews to kindly deliver his talk to the students and entrepreneurs.
First of all, good evening. I hope I'm not in between you and lunch. So all of you must be looking at me with empty stomachs. And like, when is this thing going to end? So I'll make it quick. I just have 6 points, and I don't think I can add any more to what the panelists have already said. I think each of them come with a great deal of experience in their field, and being the youngest, I think I can summarize well all their points into probably 6 points, which I think is very important for people looking to raise funds. What I do on a daily basis is weed out investee companies for investors like them, and maybe prune them so that they look like rock stars on the day they want to present their presentation. So, the My Subsidy guys and the health tourism guys, I can help you guys, right? But apart from that, I think a couple of points that Vikram and Sunil and we made were that you need to prepare before you eventually get to it. I mean, POC, whether you call it proof of concept, proof of customers, proof of product, POP, POC, POL, a lot of acronyms. We love 3-letter acronyms, right? So, I think I would like to start by saying that money is not the goal that you should be looking at whenever you start your venture, right? That's number one point. And I can probably start by saying, I can give you examples. I can't disclose the names of clients because, unfortunately, 9 out of 10 clients fail, right? And one is successful in raising funds. Typically, you can ask a fund like them, they probably will be receiving anything like a deal a day or probably 2 to 3 deals a day for funding, right? If you know how many days are there in a year, you can just multiply it by that. And if you get that many responses every day, how do you decide which is the best company to fund? How do you guys do it? What would you look at? Right? You heard about Nest, you heard about Test. I mean, there's a couple of other acronyms which people give out there. But I think the most important thing, you guys all being young, is to realize that team cannot be changed. I mean, you can put money into the company, you can fire the founders, but if the team is not intact and if the team is not complementary, the entire business model is going to fail. See, investors can put their money behind the team. They can change the business model. They can find new sources of revenue. They can probably even tell you which direction to go. I mean, have you heard of Reddit? Have you heard of the company called Reddit in the US? He actually presented a different company when he went to Y Combinator, and then one of the investors said, "I like you, but follow a different dream," right? So team is very important, and since all of you are young, all of you are unmarried, I'm assuming, you all have more time, personal time, than a married guy would have. And I think family is a very big part of an entrepreneur's journey. The second point is failure is your friend. So I've had clients who've gone through divorce during their entrepreneurship, who've got married, who've left the company because they got married. The investor said no, and he just resigned and he shut down his company and went for it. All sorts of failures happen, right? And unfortunately, all they get to see is the day when they pitch. We followed the entrepreneur from the day he's decided to start the company to when he gets funded. Now, when a company does not get funded, what do you tell the entrepreneur? Dude, go and get a job. What else would you say? Keep trying till you succeed?
Yes.
Right? No, that's the difference between a person who's pursuing money as a goal and a business as a goal. So if you're pursuing money as a goal, you definitely need more money to survive, and you say, this is not making money, let me go back to a job. Whereas if you have a person who's truly passionate about what he's doing, like they said, then you keep trying at it. Have you heard of Just Dial? How many times do you think he approached investors? He had a job, he left it, started the company, failed, went back to a job, started the company again, failed again, went back to the job, and today he's sitting on an IPO. I mean, he's already done his IPO, right? Do you know that Google is not the first revision of its launch? I mean, initially they had where Microsoft or a Yahoo would pay for it. Then they had a different business model, third business model. They kept trying, right? So the intent is failure is a friend, accept it. And to give you my own personal experience, I did the entire pitch. I left school 6 years back. So I did the presentation. We won a couple of competitions that gave us confidence to come back to India from US. But when we came back, in 6 months we shut down the company. We said, dude, we can't make it work. Right? The ground realities are very different from business planning in the US. Like he said about the software company in Netherlands, the ground reality in India is very different. People can bargain with you for 1 rupee, right? So it's important that your business model takes into concern the ground realities of any economy that you're working in. It could work great in the US, you just can't copy paste that into India, right? The fourth point is, I think PPTs are overrated, right? So for the guys who are doing the health tourism, I empathize with you. Screw-ups do happen, especially when you're presenting in front of 100 odd people and your presentation doesn't work, then you're like, oh my god. But that's not the end of life, right? I've been successful with funding some companies who never even made a PPT. The team was so good, the product was so good, there's no need for a presentation. We just went and presented the product in front of a couple of investors and they were just happy with going along. The fourth is, traction is important no matter how good your product is. Do you all understand the meaning of traction? Yes, no, maybe? How many yeses? Okay, so let's take the example of MySubzi, guys. Right now, how many of you think that MySubzi can get funded? Not even a single person? Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. The other guys, why do you think MySubzi won't get funded? Because there's already people doing something out there. Big Basket is probably doing it. They just raised what? How many crores? 200 crores? So you think that they're late? Now, let me ask you, if MySubzi has probably 10,000 people paying, let's say 100 rupees a month or 200 rupees a month and come for funding, do you think that then they would get funded? Yes? Yes? So that's what I call traction. And that is what investors look for. Unfortunately, in India, people are risk averse, right? So the investors in India want to see that this guy is not going to run away with my money. I don't want to spend my hard money on some young kid who's coming in with jeans and chappals and telling me that they're going to change the world. Not going to happen. We're not in San Jose. We're not in California, right? So look at getting customers, even if it's for free. Google has made the premium world acceptable. So look at, maybe at zero cost. Where are the MySubzi guys? Zero cost. They're backstage probably. So look at generating traction, getting customers, getting people to buy on board. Even if it's for free, get your model working. And then if you're able to get 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people to buy on your board and approach an investor, probably then you'd be more successful in fundraising. Now you know what I mean by traction? So don't assume that an investor is an idiot. I mean, all of them are probably from good colleges. They've all invested money. So they probably have burnt their money as well, right? So they know the good ones from the bad the moment you step inside the door. So to prove yourself otherwise, you have to take a lot of steps and a lot of precautions. Plenty of material found on the internet. Your own entrepreneurship cell could help you with it. But do the homework before you go and approach an investor. And the last point I'd like to make is business models can change. And I think I'd like to end with a successful sort of business model. These guys started off with providing games for people who wanted to come online. That was a business model. They would say that I would have a, let's say, a Lux soap, and I would ask people to play games with the Lux soap online. That was their business model. But what happened once they approached an investor, their business model changed. They became a reviews company, and today they're a product comparison company and a pricing comparison company. So they have changed their business model 3 times. So be ready for change. Don't say that, oh no, I thought the gaming was the cool aspect and I don't want to change. You might come out with a better product eventually. When you that might not be visible to you at the first step, but will eventually succeed later on. With that, thank you very much. Thank you. I think my time is up.
Thank you, Tim. That was really, really quick. Thank you once again for emphasizing on the team performance and team assessment, evaluating your ideas, the venture ideas typically. Before we break for the session, I was actually listening to the entire panelist, and let me have a very, very quick question, especially to Mr. Goel, if you would like to. What are some common mistakes that an entrepreneur do make, and why do investors or venture capitalists typically reject these ideas?
Rejecting an idea is a very easy job. We do it every 2 minutes. Okay. So it is not about knowing the mistakes at that time. It is about that they have, when we read through their first slide of the presentation or the first few sentences of the email, or let's say 1 minute pitch that they give on a phone, we are not convinced that they are trying to, they've got the deep customer insight to change the world. That deep customer insight is very, very important, that they are talking about something that is going to be differently done that's been done until now. Or if they're going to do something which has been done time and again, but they are going to do it so differently that it is going to make it become a mega opportunity to be created in future. But let's talk about failures. The first, well, there are multiple reasons of failures after a business is funded. The first and the simple one, 2 batchmates, they start the business. They trust each other so very much that don't even write a shareholder agreement between them. Look at it, we assume things that we are friends. No, we're getting into business. It's a serious business. What is going to be my role? What is going to be your role? How much money we're going to bring in? If we don't succeed, how will it happen? If we succeed, when we will, one of my advisors told me once, we enter into a room only when we know there is an exit gate there. You can't get into a partnership if you do not have the rules as to tomorrow, as to how will you break your partnership. Even if it's a husband and wife, you need to make sure that in a business that this is my role, this is your role. If I don't do this role, I'll stop getting my salary from there. If I don't get this role, I won't get my equity shareholding in that business. Can I sell my equity to somebody else? Can I, multiple aspects that need to be taken care of. One simple thing, failures, execution, strategy, idea, each one of us full of ideas. Each one of us an idea. The person who in this country is prepared that everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and what you thought will never go wrong will also go wrong, is the book Winning in India. If you can all pick up this latest book that has stories of the top businessmen of India, Winning in India. Just read that. Even if you're going to start your career as an employee, this is true India. Get to know your country. In India, supervisory role, you have to be on top of everything that is happening in your business to be able to succeed in the early stage. You can't say that I didn't know that happened or didn't happen. So be on top of everything, otherwise execution. Nothing gets executed. Nothing gets executed. If you assumed that this particular conference will go fine, you're mistaken. You have to control every thread of it as an organizer to make it perfect and succeed. And that's how you learn to do business better, execute better.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. Thank you indeed for your comments and suggestions. This question is for Tim especially. What would be the one thing that an entrepreneur or an early stage startup would actually need?
It's difficult to pinpoint one particular thing, and more so because I was looking for it myself, right? Because it would help me in business. I could weed out the guys who are not successful. Unfortunately, I've been surprised from many quarters, right? I thought education was important because from my background, I thought all the guys that I read about were all from IITs and IIMs. It doesn't work. I know IIT and IIM guys who failed more miserably than probably entrepreneurs, and as a result, other guys from other colleges don't get a chance because they said, "Yaar, hum to fit nahi hota criteria mein." Right? So that is not that. Is it money? I come from a decent background. My brother-in-law is in this crowd, so he can. He also comes from a fairly. So I also checkbox the last panel that was on. I married a rich girl, but did that work? No, I don't think that also worked. I think it's eventually perseverance. I find the most rustic entrepreneurs, guys who come around driving a Maruti 800. One of the guys that raised his pre-series A had a Maruti 800 because his first car got stolen and the insurance company wouldn't insure his car because he was a young kid out of college, right? So guys who truly believe, and why I say that young guys like you have it easier is because there's a lot of family pressure. When you say family pressure, parents from your side as well as parents from the girl's side, all that causes the fear of failure, right? So remove that fear of failure, lock it in a box and decide that, okay, for 2 years I'm going to try this out, or for 6 years, or for 7 years I'm going to try it out no matter what happens. I think that perseverance to get up, once you're beaten, fallen down. I've taken companies to investors like you guys. Investors say no, right? That's their job, to say no. But also to fund good companies. So there are guys who almost were going to say that it's nahi hoga. They've gone around with 15 investors, but the 16th investor said yes, right? And I can give you an example. There was this company who Sequoia rejected, right? Sequoia did the due diligence. They went through the entire round. They did schmoozing. They almost got a term sheet, and on the day of the term sheet, they said, "Sorry, we are not going to fund you." And this is after like 2.5 months of due diligence. They've called up their the previous workplace, they've called up previous employees, they've called up their customers, everything was done. And if Sequoia has funded you, means you have a pretty smooth sailing for the rest of your life because they can bankroll you to success. This company, we went through at least about 15 investors, and after they all came to know, Sequoia said no. They all said no pretty quickly, right? But the 16th investor, I'm just using 16 as a metaphor, but the 16th investor just heard the idea on the phone, and it was a she. She said, "We'll invest into these guys." There was no presentation. She didn't care who rejected it. But she said that, I think it's going to be a great success story. And today, Tiger Global has invested them $5 million in these guys. And these guys were guys who had failed in their previous business. Right? You don't get to hear all that sad story. The press has a good job of making everything look nice. Right? They failed through 2 jobs. They started businesses, failed. They were a part of investment companies which failed. But again, they got up, said, "No, I think we believe in it," and they just did it. Right? So I think that's the most important thing: perseverance and probably being down to earth, I would say. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
Excellent. Thank you for your practical insight. Now I invite questions from the audience. Just 2 questions. Thank you much for patience here. Thank you once again.